Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Well, before we go into that, you went to the play yesterday.
I did go to the play yesterday.
You went to the Jet Theatrics 2024 production of Dorothy Meets Alice.
I did.
So what did you think of that?
I was like, so here's how I ended up getting to the play.
Yeah.
So, like, I was at wrestling practice, and I was like, I kind of want to go to the play.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, he guys it away from my head, thank you. And then I was like, I kind of want to go to the play. And I texted my mom, like, hey, can I go to the play? And then I'm like, and then Ben Holbert, he's like, I'm going to the play. I'm like, hey, could I hitch a ride? He goes, sure, why not? And so then I go to the play, and then I'm in my seat. Mm-hmm. We wait. And I did not know this was a Friends and Family performance yesterday. I did not know that. I just kind of went, and I'd gotten for free. I was like, oh, cool. And then Miss Robbins came out. I'm like, this doesn't normally happen. Because I've been to the past few plays. I go to the past few years. I went to like 4 or 5 of the Jet Theatrics play. Mm-hmm. They're very good. Mm-hmm. I would highly recommend.
The first one that I went to, and we actually had Colton on, who played Judson. Mm-hmm. We just had him on, and I told him that the first play that I went to, not necessarily the first play, but the first Jet Theatrics play I went to, was the Shakespeare play that they did. And so it was pretty interesting to see. And I honestly think that's what made me want to get into it, was just watching that. What was your favorite? Because we have a lot of cool, I think that production-wise, it is pretty cool. Because we have a bunch of, like, fog stuff. We have a bunch of sound cues that we do.
Yeah.
Like, there's 60. Miss Robbins just loves her sound cues.
She does.
I've heard. The lights, Vivian did great on the lights. Everyone loved the lights.
Yeah. The lights were very good. The lights were very lighty.
I enjoyed it. I was just... Yeah. And maybe it's just because I've been dealing with it for the past 3 months. But I've enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think it was a very good play.
And you can find out for yourself if you come. Dates. Come see it.
Tonight.
Wrestling. So,
$5
I never knew.
To get into the play, by the way.
$5.
$5.
5 smackaroos.
Five smackaroos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 smackaroos.
So I never knew. I never knew that you did wrestling until we were talking about doing this interview, and you were like, "Yeah, we can talk about band and wrestling."
Yeah.
So, what got you into wrestling?
Okay. Now this one's actually a long story. Well, not super long, but so I was approaching the end of my 8th grade year, and my mom's like, "Hey, are you gonna do wrestling? Aiden, get off your phone. How dare you be on your phone during my interview? How dare!"
This is probably gonna be one of the
Boo,
longest.
Aiden. Boo! I'm kidding. We like Aiden here, I guess.
Maybe I am the one that let you on here.
Well, it's technically Rickman.
Well,
Rickman told me to talk to you.
I am the one in charge of this, so.
Okay.
This is probably going to be one of the longest interviews that we do.
Oh.
I
feel honored to be your longest interview.
I know. Continue.
Okay. So we were approaching the end of my 8th grade year, and, while I was making my schedule, my mom's like, hey, you going to do wrestling? I'm like, nah. She goes, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to. And then my brother was like, it's pretty fun. I'm like, oh, if it's so fun, why don't you do it? And he did do it his sophomore year. And he was like, it was pretty fun. And then he quit for his junior year. Mm-hmm. He's back his senior year. Mm-hmm. But
because Joey Props is your brother, right?
Yeah.
Or do you have?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers. I have Joey and Jordan. Joey has graduated. He doesn't like to leave.
He doesn't like what?
He doesn't like to leave.
Doesn't like to leave.
He's there for every single band thing.
Yeah, no, he's been there at every football game.
He's constantly in the band room. If you come in after a rehearsal or in a rehearsal, he's there.
Mm-hmm. He is there.
He's always there. He doesn't like to leave.
Yeah. So what is? I need to find a way to wear this. What is the highest, because I know there's state and national competitions. What's the highest competition you've wrestled at?
This is my first year we're doing wrestling, so I haven't really had any matches. We did our scrimmage against Stone and Cookeville a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it, yeah, right now. But we do get into our actual matches very soon.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I think I ended up going against like 2 juniors.
Ooh.
It was it was fun. Just I didn't win. But yeah.
So, I can't ask you your favorite memory if you've never really done it.
Yeah.
So
we have had like almost a month of practices.
Yeah. So, right now, by far, what is your favorite move to do? What's your favorite wrestling move? You can have multiple if that helps.
Oh, I can have multiple. Okay.
What's your top 5?
Top 5. I don't have a top 5, but I'll give you a few. Probably the cow catcher and the tripod.
Interesting names.
I mean, most of the names are fairly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's probably the cow catcher and the tripod.
Cow catcher and the tripod. What's the hardest move?
The hardest
that
move?
you can do? Or just what move you think is the hardest in general?
Right now, we ain't been doing it for very long, but I think it's probably... I'd say it's probably the cow catcher.
So explain to me the cow catcher in best ways. Do not demonstrate it, but just...
How do you know what I was going to do? So your opponent will be on you, and then they'll go to what we call a shot, and they'll try to get your leg. Mm-hmm. And so as you do that, we do what we call a sprawl, mm-hmm. where we go down on the mat, and one of our legs is out, and then we push our hip into their head to push it into the mat.
Ooh.
And then we wrap our arm around the back of their neck and then put it so like we wrap it around their neck and put the back of your hand on their chest. And then as you do that, you're going to get your arm on the inside of their right arm. Well, do whatever way, the inside arm that's towards you. Mm-hmm. You'll get under that arm, and then you'll bring your arm up and get their arm on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. And then you'll just kind of drive forward until they fall, and then you'll tighten up a lot so where your hand is on your chest, which is on their chest. Mm-hmm. And so you'll have them there, and they can't really get out.
Gotcha.
Unless you're not tight enough, then they can, what we call a bridge, where mm-hmm. your feet are on the ground, and then your body is up and then if it's not tight enough, you fall off, which then can allow them to then get the pin, which is what you don't want.
I caught barely any of that. You may have to do a demonstration. Not on me.
Oh, man.
So what would you say is the appeal behind wrestling?
The appeal behind wrestling.
Like, what makes you want to do it? Because I'd imagine it'd be, in a way, kind of therapeutic.
I mean, it definitely can help get some anger out. Overall, it's a very fun sport. Mm-hmm. It is very physically exerting.
Yeah.
Like the first few days, maybe even week of practice, you're really just conditioning, try to get into shape, mm-hmm. so that you can do those moves. So it's a lot of running, a lot of stretching. Mm-hmm. We start every practice with like a run, with like a jog, mm-hmm. and then we do what we call like our tumbling, mm-hmm. which is basically falling safely. Mm-hmm. It's like we have different ways to fall. You have to like tuck your chin, mm-hmm. and roll. And so, definitely, it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It does get you more in shape. It'll help you get stronger. Mm-hmm. The appeal behind it, that's honestly that's kind of a difficult question. I think you just...
It's something you just kind of want to do.
Yeah, you just you have to want to do it. You can't just be in the sport and not want to do it, because then you won't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the sport and you're not wanting to do it, it's just not going to be fun for you.
I think that's true for a lot of things. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to really go anywhere with it.
If you like even with band, if you don't want to be in it, then you're not going to succeed. You're just going to hold the band back. Because you're going to be out there, as Mr. Johnson says, he'll say we only march as good as our weakest marcher, and we only play as good as our weakest player. And I think that is the same. You can apply that to any sport. In football, you're only as good as your weakest player. And so that can be applied to even things in life. You can apply a lot of things you learn in sports to life. And so I think it's just something you have to want to do. It is a lot of fun.
Is that it?
To my knowledge, I have a question for you, Aiden.
All right.
What got you into like guitar and bass?
Ooh, no one's ever asked me a question without.
I'm different.
No one has asked me, being the interviewer, a question.
I want to include you, Aiden.
Well, I can speak more on guitar. Can't really speak more on bass. Bass kind of came as like an after product of doing guitar. So there was one night I was getting something from the kitchen, and I was going back to my room, and on, I think it was CNN, my parents had on the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
So they had on this 2-part. Each part is like an hour-long Eagles documentary. And, I saw it, and I was like, I don't have anything better to do. I'm going to watch this. And so I watched it, and, like, it just talks about the band's history, all the albums they did, like, their success, Hotel California. They talked a whole lot about that. And I watched, like, the 2-hour, I think it was around, like, 2 hours. And then I started listening to them more and more. And one of my favorite songs became Hotel California. And part of that was just, I've never heard anything like the solo, because I had liked music, but I think getting into the Eagles was what really kickstarted my real love for it. And so every time the solo would come on, I just really I really want to learn. And eventually, my dad has this old Epiphone Dreadnought that's been sitting in their closet for God knows how long. And I finally, actually, it was my brother got a guitar for Christmas. He never plays it. But he's left-handed, so I would just sit on the couch and mess around with it. And my dad one night was like, hey, I have a right-hand guitar if you want it. And so he stuck it in my room, and he said, if you want to do lessons, we can sign you up for lessons, because where Compass Realty is by the courthouse? That used to be a music lesson studio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so I thought about it, and I was like, I want to do it. And so I went to his work the next day and told him I want to do it. And so we got signed up, did lessons there with a dude named Jack Jones for a couple of years, or like a year. Then COVID hit, and so we couldn't do it, and he just never texted us back. And so, but there's this music store in Cookville. It's on Spring Street. It's like right off the interstate, called Crossroads Music. And we had gone there a couple of times to get like strings and stuff. And we went there one day, and we asked I didn't know who he was at the time. His name was Brad at the counter. Like, what would it be to come here and do lessons? And so my dad and him talked, and before I knew it, I was doing lessons at Crossroads with my now best friend, Eli Prince. And so it's been uphill from there. Bass kind of came as, what I can think of is Primus. Primus has a really bass-heavy sound to them. It's kind of the polar opposite. The bass takes the lead, and the guitarist just kind of sits back and does a bunch of crazy stuff. But that's what got me into that.
I think there's a solo that everyone has heard, and I think everyone wants to play. And I was wondering if you have learned it or if you can play it.
Can I take a wild guess?
Yes, you can.
Fire in the Flames.
No.
Ooh.
Okay, that is a very good one. The Freebird solo.
The Freebird? I do kind of know
Good.
the Freebird solo.
You know the Freebird
I knew like
solo?
the... I know that. So there's actually a funny story about that.
Oh.
I did So at FFA camp last year, I did talent show there. And so they do like a run through before, so they know what all to expect. And they had an audience, so
What's the point of the talent show if they have an audience?
I don't know. If half the people are going to be watching it.
Yeah, if half the people are going to be watching it, what's the point of the talent show?
So I was doing it. There was like a little bit of an audience. And as I was getting ready to play, someone yelled out Freebird. And so I did the song and everything. And after it, I looked at him and was like, "You want Freebird, right?" And I started playing Freebird.
Oh.
So I kind of know it.
Okay.
Is that all the questions for me?
I think so. Do you have any more questions for me on the saxophone? Because I know you said you wanted to learn saxophone.
I think we have more than enough time. Because we're at, I think 30 minutes right now. So we can have a whole other episode about just saxophones. Okay. Yes. But I think that's all the time that we have right now. But this was fun. This was fun. This was pretty cool. This is one of the longest interviews I've done.
I get to be the longest interview.
It was fun. But, all right. This has been Silly Little Giggles with Ada Mahaney and
Dakota Probst.
We will see you next time.